The argument didn't start when voices rose. It started earlier, in the kitchen, when my brother knocked a glass off the counter and laughed as it shattered. I flinched, bent to clean it, and he stepped over the mess like it was proof of something he'd won. "Relax," he said. "It's just a glass." That was always the shape of it. He did damage. I was told to smooth the edges. By the time we moved into the living room, my chest already felt tight, the way it does when I know the rules are about to be enforced. My mother stood near the doorway, arms crossed, jaw set. My father took the chair by the window and stared at the yard like he might find an answer there if he looked long enough. My brother kept talking. Not loudly. Casually. The kind of casual that dares you to object. I did. It wasn't an insult. It wasn't even angry. I asked him to stop, to acknowledge what he'd done. I used the voice I'd practiced in therapy, steady and clear. He smiled like he'd been waiting for it. That's when my mother raised her voice. "Apologize to your brother right now, or get out of my house." The sentence landed whole. No hesitation. No room for negotiation. It was an ultimatum she'd rehearsed without knowing she had. I looked at my father. He did not look back. He adjusted his glasses, nodded once, almost imperceptibly. Agreement by omission. Something in me settled. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel brave. I felt tired in a clean way, like the end of a long shift. "All right," I said. The word surprised them. It surprised me too, but once it was out, it fit. I walked to the hall, took my coat from the hook, and slipped on my shoes. My mother followed me, still talking, her voice shifting toward warning, then disbelief. "You're being dramatic," she said. "You always do this." I opened the door. Cold air rushed in, sharp and grounding. My brother laughed from the living room. "She'll be back," he said. "She always comes back." I closed the door without answering. Outside, my hands shook as I started the car. The shaking didn't stop when I pulled away. It followed me onto the road, through the first few miles, until my breath finally slowed. I didn't cry. I waited for it, but it didn't come. What came instead was a strange quiet, like the world had turned down its volume. That night, I slept on a friend's couch. The next morning, I went to work. I did not call them. I did not send a message explaining myself in bullet points. I knew that script too well. Explanation had never changed the ending. Days passed. Then a week. The first message came from my mother. It was short. "We need to talk." I didn't respond. The second came from my father. "Your mother is upset." I let that one sit too. It wasn't revenge. It was distance. Distance I had never allowed myself before. What they didn't know, what I hadn't planned to weaponize but also hadn't hidden, was how entangled our lives actually were. I handled things for them. Quiet things. Forms, renewals, scheduling, the small administrative tasks that keep a household running but never earn gratitude. I had taken them on because it was easier than watching my mother get overwhelmed or my father retreat into silence. When I left, those tasks left with me. At first, the consequences were minor. Missed appointments, late fees, confusion. My mother called again, her tone sharper now. "You need to come fix this," she said. "We don't understand these forms." I said, "I'm not available." She hung up on me. A month later, a certified letter arrived at their house. A deadline missed, a service lapse, something that required immediate attention and signatures. They panicked. They called my brother. He couldn't help. He never had. He joked his way through it until joking stopped working. Authority entered the story without drama. A professional voice on the phone. A clear statement of consequences. A timeline that did not bend for family dynamics. They called me together then. A conference call, like we were a business negotiating a contract. "We need you," my mother said, finally, not in anger, in fear. I listened. I asked questions. I did not apologize and help, I said, but not the way things were. There was a pause. My father cleared his throat. "What does that mean?" "It means," I said, choosing each word carefully, "that I won't be spoken to like that again. And I won't be asked to absorb blame to keep the peace." My brother scoffed. "So this is what this is?" he said. "You walking out to prove a point?" "No," I said. "It's me staying out." Silence followed. Real silence, not the kind that waits for you to fill it. They agreed because they had to. Authority does that. It clarifies what is optional and what is not. I helped them resolve the issue. I did it professionally, cleanly. When it was done, I didn't linger. I didn't come over for dinner. I didn't re-enter the old rhythms to show goodwill. After that, the family gatherings changed. I was invited less. When I was invited, the tone was cautious. My mother watched her words. My father looked at me more directly. My brother oscillated between resentment and forced politeness, unsure which would cost him less. It wasn't satisfying. It wasn't a victory lap. It was a collapse of something they had depended on without acknowledging. The illusion that I would always be there, no matter how I was treated. Sometimes, late at night, I still feel the pull to smooth things over, to apologize for the discomfort my absence caused. That impulse hasn't disappeared. Growth rarely erases instinct, it just gives you better options. I chose one of those options. I chose myself, not loudly, not heroically. I just didn't go back.